Discover the incredible moment a single dad welcomed a crying girl, life-changing secrets revealed. In the midst of a sun-drenched afternoon, Mark, a single dad wearing a faded Chicago Bears cap, found himself at the local park. Laughter filled the air as children dashed from swing to slide. But in this picture of suburban bliss, one little face peeked out, tear-streaked and alone. Emily, a girl from the neighborhood, sat silently on a swing, her small frame trembling under the weight of sadness. A pang struck Mark's heart like a bolt of lightning. It wasn't just the chill in the air, something deeper was amiss. As Mark pushed his daughter Ava on the swing, he glanced back at Emily, who looked as if she was fighting her own storm. Blinking away the urge to retreat back into the jubilance of the park, he approached her, his heart racing. He knelt beside her swing, feeling this magnetic pull toward her. "Hey there," he said softly, wrapping an arm around her trembling shoulders. "It's okay. You're not alone." The warmth of his hug enveloped her like a cozy blanket, igniting a connection fraught with understanding and compassion that neither of them knew they desperately needed. Before long, the community began to buzz with excitement over the annual talent show. Mark saw an opportunity not just for his daughter Ava and Emily, but for unity. "How about we sing together?" he proposed one evening while they practiced the duet in his modest living room filled with mismatched furniture and toys scattered on the floor. Ava's laughter echoed, and even Emily managed a shy smile, but doubts crept in like shadows. Whispers from neighbors seeped into his thoughts. A single dad coaching girls' performances. What were they saying about him? Just another struggling parent failing to keep his family in line. And Emily's parents expressed their doubts, making her feel unworthy despite her knack for singing. Sometimes, it felt like a tug-of-war inside him. Tensions rose as rehearsals helped bond the girls but simultaneously frayed Mark's nerves. He wanted so badly for them both to soar, but how could he be a guiding star when the clouds of judgment loomed overhead? Yet, as the days slipped by, he pressed on, fired by an unwavering hope in the mission he'd embraced to elevate their spirits and bring their families closer together. Just when everything seemed on the verge of collapse, a figure emerged from Emily's past, a battle-scarred uncle who had found his way home after years of silence. Mark learned that this man, once lost to his demons, stood ready to reconnect, longing for forgiveness and a place to belong. His presence at the talent show infused unexpected energy into the air, thick with anticipation. As the curtain fell, and applause roared alongside tears of joy, Mark felt his heart swell. Yet, amidst the joy, a question reverberated within him: what does it really mean to belong? And would he and his children find the healing they desperately needed alongside Emily and her uncle? The journey ahead remained uncharted, filled with emotional landscapes yet to be explored. As the echoes of applause faded away, Mark stood backstage, breathing in the excitement that pulsed through the air. His heart was still racing from the performance, but now there was a strange mix of joy and concern gnawing at him. He turned to see Ava bouncing with delight, her face glowing with pride. Emily leaned against the wall, her wide eyes sparkling, seemingly both exhilarated and overwhelmed. "Did you see that?" Ava shouted, her voice barely able to contain her excitement. "We did it. We actually did it." Mark felt a swell of pride. They had conquered the stage, drawn out feelings in front of friends, family and even some strangers. But something in Emily's expression caught his attention. She didn't share the same jubilance. Instead, she looked lost in thought, concerns re-emerging like dark clouds. "Hey, Emily," he said, gently nudging her shoulder. "We made it. You were amazing out there." Emily smiled, but it barely reached her eyes. "Thanks, but I don't know if I can keep doing this," she admitted, her voice small. "I mean, what if I mess up? Or if I let you down?" Mark's heart sank. He remembered the struggle, his fears as a dad, feeling the weight of responsibility draping over him. "Hey, listen," he said, kneeling down to her level. "This isn't about perfection. It's about having fun, about being together. You're not letting anyone down. You showed everyone your beautiful voice." He nudged her playfully, trying to lift the mood. And you know what? If you trip, we'll all just laugh and keep going. It'll be part of our story. Emily chuckled softly, the tension releasing just a little. I guess that's true, she replied, the subtle glint of a rekindled spark in her eyes. Just then, Mark caught a glimpse of Emily's uncle standing at the edge of the stage, smiling proudly. As they stepped out to greet the crowd, applause washed over them once again. Mark felt a fresh wave of hope. If Emily's uncle could be there, perhaps her family could heal too. In that moment, Mark realized what the evening had truly birthed: a community, bound not just by talent, but by shared struggles. Days melted into weeks, and the talent show had ignited a ripple effect in their neighborhood. Emily's uncle became more involved, sharing stories and laughter, slowly stitching together the fabric of their family. Mark found himself forging connections in ways he never knew possible. Coffee chats with other parents turned into group playdates, and soon there was talk of future collaborations and community gatherings. Yet, as life began to bloom, Mark's own past lurked in the shadows. Old memories of lost loves and unanswered questions crept back in. Could he truly let the warmth of community in? Each step he took felt both liberating and daunting. His hands shook as he typed a message to Emily's uncle, hoping to meet for coffee and perhaps share his own story. That night, lying in bed, Mark stared at the ceiling, questions swirling. What if he was not just feeling hope for his children but for himself too? What if he allowed not just the idea of community in, but vulnerability? As he drifted off to sleep, a serene yet uncertain dread filled his chest. Would this new path lead to healing, or was he standing at the precipice of something much scarier? The boundaries between their worlds had begun to blur, and Mark knew deeper explorations lay ahead. As dawn approached, cloaked in the early morning light, he felt both a shiver of excitement and a clenching of fear. What more would this journey demand of him? The morning sun broke through Mark's window, casting a warm glow across the room. He rubbed the sleep from his eyes, the events of the past few weeks swirling in his mind. Was it really just a short time ago that they had all been backstage, filled with uncertainty and hope? Now, a sense of possibility filled his heart, but so did the weight of what came next. After a quick breakfast, Mark felt a flutter of nerves as he replayed his plan for the day. He was set to meet Emily's uncle, Charlie, at the local coffee shop. They had exchanged messages, the enthusiasm in Charlie's words brightening Mark's day. But the closer the time grew, the more anxiety bubbled inside him. What would he say? Would sharing his past help him open up to the support he desperately needed? As Mark arrived at the cafe, he couldn't deny the significance of this moment. The bell above the door chimed softly as he stepped inside. The comforting scent of brewed coffee wrapped around him like a hug. Charlie was already seated at a corner table, a steaming cup in front of him and a welcoming smile lighting up his face. "Hey, Mark!" Charlie called out. The warmth in his voice steadied Mark's nerves a little. "Hey, Charlie," Mark replied, slipping into the chair across from him. They chatted about the neighborhood and the recent talent show, their laughter mingling with the sounds of clinking cups and quiet chatter around them. Mark felt himself relaxing. But as Charlie's eyes shifted more seriously, Mark sensed the conversation was about to dive deeper. "I've been meaning to ask, how are you really doing?" Charlie's expression was sincere, his concern palpable. "I know it can't be easy, juggling everything with Emily and Ava." Mark swallowed hard, staring into his coffee cup. "I've been good," he said, the words feeling hollow. "But sometimes, I feel like I'm standing on the edge, you know? Like I'm scared to let anyone in." "Trust me, that fear is normal," Charlie replied, resting his elbows on the table. "Everyone wants to be strong, but true strength sometimes lies in embracing vulnerability." Those words hit Mark like a jolt. He thought of Emily, her fears evident after the performance. What would happen if he showed her that it was okay to be scared, to stumble in front of others? He felt a flicker of resolve growing within. "I guess I worry about failing," Mark admitted, feeling the weight of his vulnerability lift slightly. "I don't want Emily to grow up feeling like she has to hide her fears." "That's the beauty of being a parent, Mark," Charlie reassured, leaning in closer. You're showing her how to grow through those fears. You're her role model. It's okay to mess up. What matters is how we pick ourselves back up. Mark nodded, the truth wrapping around him like a warm blanket. They talked for hours, sharing stories, fears, and laughter. With each passing moment, he felt a healing taking place, a realization that he was not alone. He left the cafe with a heart that felt a little lighter, and a head filled with new thoughts, but just as he began to walk away, his phone buzzed in his pocket. A text from Emily flashed on the screen. "Dad, I saw something at school today that made me think of you. Can we talk?" Mark's heart raced. What had she seen? As he walked towards home, he felt the air shift around him. The path that lay ahead was winding, filled with questions about family and connection. Would this conversation with Emily open a door to something truly transformative for both of them? Mark pushed open the door to their small home, the familiar creak of the hinges adding a sense of comfort to the chaotic swirl of thoughts in his mind. He glanced around, hoping to spot Emily's head of curly hair bobbing up and down as she scampered about, lost in her own world. But the house was quiet, and a knot tightened in his stomach. He called out, his voice bouncing off the walls and returning to him like an echo of his own uncertainty. No answer. He headed to her room, the door slightly ajar. Hesitantly, he peeked inside. There, slumped over at her desk, was Emily, her back turned to him, a stack of papers scattered around like fallen leaves. His heart sank further. She was usually so vibrant, where had that little girl gone? "Hey, where are you?" he asked softly, walking in. He approached her slowly, not wanting to frighten her. She lifted her head, and he saw the shimmer of tears welling in her eyes. "Dad," she choked out, her voice barely a whisper. I saw a painting today at school that reminded me of you." The way she said it, like she was trying to hold something inside herself, made his heart ache. He scooted closer, taking a seat next to her on the bed. What was it about? Emily blinked rapidly, as if trying to sort through her thoughts. It was of a guy standing by a river, and there were a lot of colors, like the sunset was really bright. But he looked lonely. I thought that maybe it's how you feel sometimes." Mark breathed out, the weight of her words landing heavily in the silence between them. "Do you think I look lonely?" A moment passed. Then she nodded. "Sometimes. But I don't want you to be. You've been around, but I can tell." It hit him harder than expected. He felt exposed, laid bare before this young girl who was saying things he struggled to articulate. "You know, I've been scared too, you know. About a lot of things. But I do my best to be here for you. We can grow together, through this." Emily turned to face him, her brows furrowing in confusion. "Grow together? What do you mean?" Mark took a deep breath, wearing his heart on his sleeve. "Just like you don't have to hide your feelings, I don't either. We can talk about the things that make us sad or scared. Like your painting, it touched something inside you, and it's okay to feel that way." She shuffled closer, wiping her tears on her sleeves, and the openness between them began to blossom. "But what if talking about it makes it worse?" "Sometimes it might feel that way at first," he confessed. "But letting it out makes room for good things, too. Sharing fears can help us find strength and understanding." As they sat together, he felt the pull of vulnerability wrap around them, creating a cocoon of trust. It was a moment neither of them would forget. The tears didn't vanish, but they became lighter, more manageable, as they confronted them together. A tiny smile formed on Emily's lips, breaking through the heaviness. "So both of us are a little scared, huh?" "Yeah," he replied, grinning in return, relieved to see that flicker of her joy. "And that's perfectly okay." Just as they started to share their stories, the phone buzzed again, interrupting the moment. Mark glanced at the screen and paled. It was a message from Charlie, just checking in. "Did you talk to Emily yet? She seemed upset earlier." All of a sudden, he realized this conversation was just the beginning. They both had walls that needed breaking down. But with this newfound connection, what would they discover together next? He turned to Emily, her wide eyes already sparkling with curiosity, and held her hand tightly. "Let us make a promise to always talk. There's so much more to share." Her nod represented a step forward, but as he absorbed the depth of their discussion, he couldn't shake the feeling that something deeper was stirring. What other secrets awaited them in this journey of openness and connection? Mark felt a rush of warmth at their shared promise. The air was thick with unspoken emotions, each one hanging like a delicate thread waiting to be tugged. Emily looked at him, the sparkle in her eyes a glimmer of hope, and he realized they were standing at the edge of something monumental: vulnerability. "Okay, Dad," she said, her voice steadying. "What is something that scares you?" He hesitated, the reality of his fears surfacing like a wave. This wasn't just about being brave for Emily, but about being real. "Well, sometimes I worry about not being able to protect you. Like, what if something happens, and I'm not there?" Emily's brow furrowed, the weight of his words not lost on her. "But you're always here now," she said, her small hand squeezing his. "You've been through tough things and you're still standing." That made him smile, though it was bittersweet. "True, but sometimes, I feel like I'm only pretending to be strong. I guess I don't want you to see me fall apart. I want to be your rock." She tilted her head thoughtfully. "Rocks can break, you know, it's okay for them to feel things too." Her insight caught him off guard. He hadn't thought of it that way. "Yeah, you're right. Maybe we can let ourselves feel a little more. Break a bit without it being the end." Emily nodded excitedly. "And I can draw it. You and me as rocks, together." They both laughed, the tension easing. It felt good, almost liberating, this idea of letting go. Mark leaned in closer now, searching her eyes. "How about you tell me what scares you? I want to know everything, Em." She looked down at her hands, wringing them as if the answer danced right at the tips of her fingers. "I'm scared of being alone. Like at school when the kids play without me. I don't want that." The simplicity of her fear struck him, a sharp reminder of their shared isolation. "Well, that makes sense. It's tough to feel left out. But remember, you've got me. We're a team, right?" Her expression shifted to one of strength. "Right. Team family." "Exactly," he affirmed, unable to stifle his smile. "And no matter where you are, I'll always be your biggest fan." As they continued to weave through the intricate tapestry of shared vulnerabilities, Mark's phone buzzed yet again. This time, it was a call. As the name, Charlie, flashed across the screen, he hesitated, the familiarity of the name igniting a familiar conflict within him. "Who's Charlie?" Emily asked, shifting her curiosity back to him as she eyed the phone. He took a moment to consider, a knot twisting in his gut. "A friend, a good friend. But sometimes, he doesn't understand what we're going through." "Do you want to talk to him?" she asked, her innocence piercing the moment. "Maybe actually, I think I want to finish our talk first." Mark felt torn but found strength in Emily's unwavering gaze. "Let me finish this first." As he put the phone face down, he caught a fleeting glimpse of something just beyond their conversation, the realization that opening up together might open more doors than either of them expected. "Em, do you think we can share our fears with Charlie too?" Her response was thoughtful. "Maybe he just needs a painting to see too." Mark chuckled, his heart warming at her creativity. "Or maybe we could all paint together." The notion hung between them, an invitation to a future rich with connection, courage, and artful honesty. But just before Emily could respond, a flutter of unease settled in Mark's stomach as he sensed that deeper secret still lingered in the shadows, ones he was too ready to confront yet, even as the light of their discussion shone brightly. What had Charlie seen that made him check in? What other truths were waiting to emerge in this journey they were embarking on together? Mark took a deep breath, allowing the joy of the moment with Emily to linger just a little longer. There was so much warmth between them, a connection that reminded him of the love and laughter they once shared before life grew heavy with unspoken burdens. But Charlie's call still buzzed in his mind, a persistent echo he couldn't ignore. "Hey, Em," he said, shifting the conversation back towards her. "What would you want to paint if you could paint your biggest dream?" Her eyes lit up, the question igniting a spark of creativity. "I'd paint a huge playground. With swings and slides, and I'd make it colorful. And then everyone could come and play with me." "Sounds perfect," he replied, imagining the scene. "And what if I painted a huge tree, right in the middle? One big enough for people to gather around?" "Yeah. And we could put a picnic table under it. We could eat lunch there." She grinned, her excitement contagious. Mark couldn't help but smile wider. It felt good to dream together, away from their fears, even if just for a moment. "But Dad." Emily's tone shifted as the laughter faded slightly. "What if we can't make it real?" He felt his heart sink just a little, the shadow of reality creeping back in. Sometimes, making dreams real takes time and work. "But isn't it worth it to try?" "Yeah, it is," she agreed firmly, but her brow was still scrunched in worry. "Tell you what," he suggested. "After we paint, how about we find out what Charlie thinks? Maybe he'll help us figure it out." Her face brightened, and she nodded eagerly. "Okay. But only if he promises to help." "Deal." Just as Mark's resolve solidified, the phone buzzed again. He glanced down at it, feeling the weight of his decision gathering around him. "Can I see?" Emily asked, her curiosity piqued once more. He hesitated but handed the phone over. Emily studied the screen, her little fingers tracing the name. "Is he a good friend? Are you sure he'll understand?" Mark's throat tightened. "Sometimes he is. Other times it's complicated." The silence stretched as they exchanged knowing glances. He realized how layered relationships could become, especially when emotions were involved. "I just want you to be happy," she finally said. "And not scared." At that moment, he understood that this journey of vulnerability wasn't just for him, it was also a lesson for her. "Thank you, Em. You're wise for your age. But you know, it's okay for us both to feel scared sometimes. It means we care." Emily giggled lightly. "Like rocks that are also candy. Tough, but sweet." "Yes." He laughed, loving her analogy. But the laughter faded, replaced by a solemn note as he realized that their softness was also a strength, a unique bond formed through shared fears and dreams. "Maybe we can call Charlie now," Emily suggested, her little face earnest. "We can show him our paintings, and he can tell us what he thinks." Mark's pulse quickened. Was he ready? "Sure, let us try it." He grabbed the phone, hesitating for just a heartbeat before hitting the call button. As the ringing echoed in the silence, he felt the weight shift in the air, tension mingling with hope. "Hey, Charlie," he said, when the call connected. "It's Mark. Can we talk?" But the moment he spoke those words, he could sense Emily's eyes on him, an unshakable trust holding them together. What did this conversation mean for all of them? And as Charlie's voice resonated through the speaker, Mark knew that whatever secrets had been lingering would have to rise to the surface. The journey toward understanding was only just beginning. Would they find clarity or unravel even more tangled truths? "Mark, hey. Of course, we can talk," Charlie's voice crackled through the speaker. It felt steady yet distant, like a lifeline tangled in the waves of uncertainty. "Listen, I'm here with Emily," Mark said, glancing down at his daughter, who was straining to hear the other side of the call. "And well, we've been talking about dreams and painting." "Painting? That sounds cool." Charlie's tone warmed a bit. "What is she dreaming about?" "Big playgrounds with swings and slides," Mark replied, allowing some of that joy to seep into his voice. And we thought maybe you could help us make them real. He monitored Emily's expression, watching her excitement transform into a subdued hopefulness. Sure, I'd love to help. But I need you to be honest with me. How's everything going on your end? Charlie's question cut through the air like a sharp knife. Mark felt the weight settle in his chest again. Things are complicated. I don't want to pull Emily into any of that. Sometimes, keeping secrets only makes things worse, you know. Charlie's words were a gentle reminder but held an edge. Mark swallowed hard, struggling with the internal battle. Sharing their struggles felt like pulling the lid off a boiling pot. Would it spill over? Maybe it's time to let her in on more. She deserves to know the truth, Charlie added. Emily, still peeking over at him, placed her tiny hand on his knee. What truth, Dad? Her voice held a blend of innocent curiosity and underlying concern that he hesitated. We've been dealing with some tough stuff. Grown-up stuff, he said, trying to soften the impact. Grown-up stuff can be scary. She declared with a wide-eyed innocence, her brow furrowing as she searched for words. But isn't it kinda like painting? You gotta layer it all, right? To see the real picture. Mark's heart swelled with admiration. She had a knack for cutting through the noise with clarity. That's exactly it, Em. Sometimes, we have to paint over the mess to get to the better parts. Charlie cleared his throat. So, do you want to set up something in person? I think being face-to-face would help. Mark nodded slowly, feeling that complexity brewing in his soul again. He remembered the last time they were all in the same room. So many unsaid things hung heavy in the air. We could get all of us together. You, me, and Emily, Mark suggested, trying to keep his voice steady. But I need to prepare her for whatever comes next. I'm here, Dad, Emily chirped, confident and brimming with trust. A smile tugged at the corners of Mark's mouth. Nothing could shake the strength of that bond, not even the tangled web of fears that lay ahead. All right, let us do it then. Let us make some plans and bring the canvas to life, Mark said with newfound determination. He could feel the shift, like a door opening to possibilities. Oh, and let me know about the playground. Charlie laughed, his voice breaking some of the tension. Before Mark could answer, Emily piped up, can I help decide the colors? Please. Of course, we're going to paint everything, Em. Mark laughed, heartened by her excitement. As they ended the call, Mark let out a breath he didn't realize he was holding. He looked down to find Emily gazing at him with hopeful eyes. Do you think Charlie will help? For real? She asked, her voice small but persistent. That he nodded slowly. I think he might. But deep inside him, the uncertainty remained. Was he truly ready to confront all that lay unresolved? And as the sun began to set outside, casting golden rays through the window, he realized they were standing at the edge of something significant. Could this be the moment that transformed their fears into something that breathed life? Tomorrow, we'll figure it out together, he promised, the weight of the decision settling in, but little did he know, the conversation they were on the brink of was only the tip of the iceberg. What truths waited just beneath the surface, ready to erupt? The next morning dawned bright and clear, the sun spilling into the small living room like a burst of optimism. Mark stood by the window, his heart fluttering with a mix of anticipation and dread. Today was the day they would finally meet Charlie. The air felt charged, as if something significant was waiting to happen. Are we going to the playground? Emily bounced on her toes, her hair springing around her like a halo of excitement. She was dressed in her favorite pink dress, adorned with colorful butterflies that twirled as she moved. Each flit made her face glow with joy, a reminder of how uncomplicated childhood could be. Mark tried to mirror her enthusiasm, but inside, he was a tangled knot. Not just yet, Em. We're going to meet Charlie first. He's going to help us with our plans. Emily tilted her head, her excitement faltering just a bit. But what if he doesn't like the colors I pick? The question lingered, and Mark felt a tight squeeze in his chest. You've got to trust me, okay? Everyone loves your colors. Just like you love to paint and create new things. She nodded, but there was a flicker of doubt in her eyes that tugged at him. It felt like more than just paint colors they were discussing. It was about trust in Charlie, trust in the process, and trust in the uncertain future that lay ahead. As they prepared for the meeting, Mark found himself glancing at the clock more often than he'd like to admit. The minutes crawled by, and he felt a weight settling over him, the concern of what might unfold when they all came together. Anxious thoughts danced in his mind. What if Charlie brought up things he wasn't ready to talk about? What if the secret slipped out? What if Emily got hurt? Dad, are we late? Emily's question pulled him back from the brink of his spiraling thoughts. Her face was a picture of innocence and unwavering faith in him. Not yet. Just a little longer. He smiled softly. How about we talk about what colors you want for that playground? Her face lit up again. I want blue for the sky and yellow for the swings. Oh, and green for the grass. She bounced around, her energy infecting Mark. Perfect choices, he said, feeling a surge of relief in the lightness of her voice. It was a moment of clarity amid the storm brewing in his heart. Before he knew it, they were ready, and Mark stood in front of the door, his hand hovering over the doorknob. Ready? He asked Emily, though the question was as much for himself. Yes, she exclaimed, unbothered by the weight of adult fears. Her unwavering certainty grounded him. They stepped outside, the world greeting them with a beautiful, bright day. Mark breathed in the fresh air, hoping it would lend him strength. The drive to the cafe was filled with Emily happily chirping about her favorite colors, but as they neared the place, Mark felt his stomach twist tighter with each passing block. When they pulled up, Charlie was already there, standing outside with a wide smile. Time seemed to warp as Mark stepped out of the car with Emily. Charlie's presence carried an aura of calm, but it didn't erase the unease twisting inside Mark. Hey, you made it. Charlie waved. And look who's with you. Emily. How are you? I'm great. I picked colors for the playground. Emily blurted, her enthusiasm flowing freely. Charlie knelt to her level. That's amazing. I can't wait to see what we create together. The sincerity in his voice eased some of Mark's tension, but as they started walking toward the cafe, he felt the enormity of the moment settle around them. Tension simmered just below the surface, but just as they entered, Emily suddenly stumbled, her foot catching on the rug, sending her crashing to the ground. A gasp escaped Mark's lips, and he leaned down, panic in his voice. Emily. Are you okay? As she started to cry, the cafe, filled with the smell of coffee and fresh pastries, faded to the background. In that moment, everything shifted. The playful innocence of their plans turned into a whirlwind of worry. Dad! I hurt my knee. She cried, and Mark's heart clenched painfully in his chest. He felt the weight of the situation surge again. It was as if the fears he held at bay were now bursting through the cracks. His eyes met Charlie's, who immediately knelt beside them, concern etched across his face. Hey, it's okay, we'll fix this, he said soothingly, reaching out to Emily with a gentle touch. Mark felt the pull of something deeper in that moment. There was vulnerability, but also a sliver of hope. They had entered into a space where healing could begin, not just of scraped knees, but perhaps of the secrets and fears that had held them in darkness. Can you help me? Emily asked Charlie, tears streaming down her cheeks, her small hand reaching out for comfort. Mark's breath caught in his throat. This moment was pivotal, and as he watched Emily lean into Charlie's caring presence, he knew they stood on the brink of a revelation that could change everything. But would Charlie be ready to stand with them through whatever secrets awaited to be uncovered? As Mark met Charlie's gaze, the question hung between them, heavy and pregnant with possibility. Emily's sobs started to calm as Charlie took her small hand in his. It's okay, sweetheart. Let us check that knee. I think a superhero bandage will make it all better. Mark watched as Charlie gently examined Emily's knee, his brow furrowing in concern. A small scrape was already forming a pink line on her pale skin, but it wasn't deep. Relief washed over Mark, mingling with the tension that had clung to him since they stepped foot in the cafe. See that? Just a tiny scrape, like a little battle scar, Charlie said, grinning as he pulled out a colorful band-aid from his bag. Only the toughest kids get these. Emily's face brightened, the tears still glistening but her spirit lifted by the charm of the moment. I'm tough, she declared, her voice building in strength. Mark's heart swelled as he observed the magical transformation in his daughter. The world might be heavy with secrets and fears, but here, right in front of him, was pure childhood resilience. That seed of trust they had built, could it take root today, or would it get trampled again? As Charlie carefully applied the band-aid, a sense of connection sparked between the three of them. Mark leaned against the table, trying to appear calm, but something inside him was shifting. This wasn't just about Emily, it was about him too. Are you alright, Dad? Emily asked, glancing up with her big brown eyes filled with genuine worry. Her question pierced him. He felt the weight of his role, the pressure to protect and guide her. Just a little worried, he admitted, heart racing. But seeing you smile makes it better. Then let us make the playground happen. No more worries, she declared, her previous injury easily forgotten as she jumped back onto her feet, band-aid glowing like a badge of honor. Okay. We will, Charlie replied, rising to meet Mark's gaze. For a moment, their eyes locked, and a silent conversation unfolded. Could they really create a safe space for Emily? Could they be the adults to lead where others had faltered? Just then, the chime of the cafe's door broke their moment. A young couple walked in, laughing carefreely, the kind of laughter that had once made Mark feel like life was unburdened. He battled nostalgia, pushing it aside. He was here to build a future, not dwell on the past. Mark cleared his throat, trying to shake off the cloud of emotions. So, Charlie, what's next for the playground? Where do we start? As Charlie began explaining the ideas they could explore, Mark listened intently. Yet inside, a part of him still wrestled with doubt. He knew that today was only the beginning of a journey. The conversation flowed, ideas exchanged, and laughter peppered the worries tethered to their hearts. But as the light-hearted atmosphere enveloped them, Mark couldn't shake the feeling that another shoe was yet to drop. Then Charlie turned serious before Mark could speak, his expression shifting. Mark, he said slowly, the weight of his name hanging in the air. There's something we need to talk about. Something important I haven't shared yet. Mark's breath caught again, the anticipation knotting in his stomach. This wasn't just a casual conversation anymore. The playfulness of the cafe faded as the weight of uncertainty returned. He felt exposed, his defenses crumbling. Oh, what is it? Emily interrupted, sensing the change in energy. Mark looked at her, then back at Charlie. The next words could ignite fireworks or bring down the house. Charlie, wait, he started, but Charlie's gaze was already fixed on him, determined to reveal whatever truth loomed beneath the surface. What was Charlie about to say? Would it change everything Mark thought he knew? As silence filled the room, anticipation crackled between them, heavy with the promise of truths yet to unfold. Mark, we've built a connection over the last few weeks, Charlie began, his voice steady yet gentle. And I want to be honest with you about something. Mark's heart raced. An unsteady silence enveloped the cafe, punctuated only by the hum of the espresso machine. Emily, ever the bright light, seemed to sense the gravity of the moment. She sat still, her small hands clasped in her lap, anticipation etched across her face. Okay, I'm listening, Mark replied, bracing himself for whatever lay ahead. Charlie took a deep breath, glancing at Emily as if seeking her quiet understanding. When I finally came home after years away, I wanted to be there for Emily. But I've struggled with some serious issues. My past isn't pretty. I've been a burden and a disappointment to those I love. I didn't want to come back and impose my troubles on her. Mark felt a wave of compassion wash over him. He understood more than Charlie knew. It's never easy confronting old demons, he said quietly. Charlie nodded, grateful for the understanding in Mark's gaze. But I see the light in Emily, and I want to help her shine brighter. I don't want to hold her back, none of us should. Emily half smiled, her innocence radiant in a moment filled with heavy truths. You're not a burden, Uncle Charlie, she asserted. You're my superhero, right? A small laugh broke through the tension, and Charlie's eyes softened, warmth flooding his expression. Exactly. Just like you are a superhero too, Em. Mark couldn't help but smile as hope flickered between them, igniting the room with something new. He realized the strength that came from this vulnerability. It was transformative. Speaking of superpowers, Mark began, feeling the momentum build. We need to work together, right? Emily deserves an army behind her. We all want to build something together, get through our fears and elevate each other. Yes. Emily chimed in, bouncing in her seat. A playground with a team of superheroes. Charlie laughed heartily, the tension in the air dissipating as he looked at Mark. Let us really do it. The three of us together create this playground. But Mark sensed something still lingered. And we need to keep the lines of communication open, he added, his voice steady. My fears, your past, we all have our battles. We can't hide, it's time to face them head on. It makes us stronger. I agree, Mark, Charlie said, sincerity glinting in his eyes. I didn't want to burden Emily, but maybe it's time to show her it's okay to talk about what scares us, and how we can learn from that. The moment hung, each of them using it as a trampoline toward understanding. Emily would learn that vulnerability isn't weakness, it's courage. And Mark found comfort in knowing he wasn't alone, that they could rise together as a family. Mark leaned down, looking deeply into Emily's eyes. You see, Em. When we share our fears, we break down those walls. We make room for something beautiful. I want to be brave like you, Dad, she replied, her voice strong, determination twinkling behind her eyes. In that potent moment, Mark felt a weight lift. This wasn't just about building a playground, it was about forging connections and healing old wounds, a shared journey that would change everything. All right, Charlie said, clapping his hands together, excitement brewing anew. Let us get to work. We're going to paint the most colorful playground this neighborhood has ever seen. With that, laughter bubbled up again, chasing shadows away. Mark marveled at the transformation taking place before his eyes, a blossoming community, with relationships standing firm like the sturdy trees protecting their dreams. As Charlie leaned closer, drawing out plans for the playground's design, Mark caught a glimpse of Emily's face, her undeniable spirit shining through. This was what it meant to belong not just to a group, but to something far more significant. As they set off together, the coffee shop fading behind them, Mark knew today marked the beginning of a new chapter filled with love, healing, and the courage to face anything life threw their way. So, my friend, here we are at the end of this incredible journey. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that show the power of transformation. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep this community growing strong. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this powerful ending. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see just how beautiful vulnerability can be.